Hello everyone, welcome back to Nimsite. Australia, a place with stunning beaches, unique wildlife and unforgettable adventures. But let's face it, tourists often make some classic mistakes when visiting Down Under. In this video, I'm going to talk about top tourist mistakes and how you can avoid them the next time you're planning a trip to Australia so that you can enjoy a trip stress-free, hassle-free, etc. Since this is a Christmas New Year season, I thought this is the perfect timing for such a video because a lot of tourists will be planning a trip to Australia next year. So let's move on to today's video. Mistake number 1. Underestimating distances. Oh, I'll just travel from Melbourne to Sydney in a day. Australia is huge. The drive itself from Melbourne to Sydney is over 9 hours, and to other places it could be even more. So it is very important to plan your routes, plan the places that are realistic, have a realistic itinerary planned, and if you're not in a position to drive, you can take flights as well. The flights between cities and states within Australia, they are not that expensive. You can check Skyscanner website or these other websites and get an idea and plan your trip accordingly beforehand. Mistake number 2. Not being sun smart. Australia has one of the highest UV levels in the world. You can get a sunburn in just 15 minutes. So it's very important to wear a sunscreen, usually a SPF 50 sunscreen, wear a hat and stay hydrated as well. In fact, you won't believe in all these primary schools and play schools, the importance of sunscreen is made relevant to children at a very young age. In fact, there's a tagline as well, no hat, no play. So you would find like most of the children who are playing outside would have hats in their kinder or daycare centers as well. So that is the importance of taking precautions when you're stepping outside in Australia. The next common mistake is ignoring beach safety flags. The waves might look fine to you and you would think about diving in or jumping in, but be very careful. Even though the waters might be calm, Australia is known for some strong tides or strong rip tides in between. So if you don't know swimming, make sure you take proper assistance. Australia culturally is a very swimming friendly country. Like right from a young age, as early as 5 to 6 months, children know swimming. So it's a part of the culture, but it might not be the same for everyone. So make sure you don't go to areas which are prohibited. Make sure you don't go to areas which have like strong tides. And in fact, even in the patrolled beaches, there would be a red, yellow flags. Make sure you adhere to that. The next misconception is about wildlife. Now in this there are 2 areas, right? I'll talk about the infamous area first. When you think about Australia, you think about 2 areas. One is like the scenic beauty, mountains, beaches, and the other, lot of people have this query as well, like about deadly snakes and deadly wildlife, etc. So be rest assured, most of the cities, most of the common places, you won't see any deadly snakes or deadly animals or anything like that. It's very rare. Unless you're going in some regional or rural sort of areas, only then you might find very deadly animals, etc. Normally the precaution is to stay calm and not to panic. Even if you go to like parks or camping sites, there would be notice and there would be information given if there are any animals spotted or any snakes spotted. You would find things on how to deal also if you find something like that. So it's very rare. So be assured that you won't find a lot of deadly animals in your day-to-day journey or day-to-day itinerary. The next part is about other animals, right? Like for example, kangaroos, koalas, a lot of people try to feed them or touch them. Please don't do that. They are not pets. Kangaroos, koalas or other wildlife, you're okay to observe them from a distance, but don't hinder or don't disturb them in a way that's not appreciated. So this is the tip related to wildlife. The next mistake is about overpacking or underpacking for every climate. Now, you would think that Australia is pretty warm or, some areas are pretty cold, etc. But Australia has different climate zones in different regions. For example, Melbourne has a very unpredictable weather. Even though it's summers now, you would find days where it's really cold outside or really windy outside, or it's raining outside, and you would actually need warm clothes as well. So be very mindful of the area where you will be staying or visiting. Brisbane is known for its tropical climate, and you might not need a sweater or warm cloth always, but in Melbourne it's a saying that you always step out and carry a jacket just in case. So this is very common across Australia, different types of weathers. It is usually nice weather, but it can change as well. So make sure you scroll at the weather app. It's pretty accurate, the weather around different areas. It's very accurate. Whatever, if it shows it rains, it usually rains. So make sure you have a look and pack your clothes accordingly. The next is a very common mistake that people do, and one that should be given like really high importance: ignoring biosecurity rules. Australia has very strict biosecurity rules, and usually it's in relation to declaring any food, animal, dairy products, etc. that you bring from outside. And normally it is taken very seriously because Australia border security, it usually ensures that you don't bring anything that's harmful for the ecosystem or harmful for the wildlife or endangered animals in Australia. So it's taken pretty seriously. So normally the thumb rule is, if you're unsure, just declare it anyway. If there are no problems, they would just let you in without a lot of questions being asked. And even if there's a question, you can answer that what the product is exactly. But if you say no, that is, you've not declared it in the form and it was a prohibited item, and the border security finds that item, you can be charged fines over $1,000. So that's how seriously border security takes all of this. So please make sure that you declare everything in the form. Now the next mistake, or I would say the cultural things to know, like it's mostly associated with how things have been culturally in Australia. Now there are a group of things that I would cover in this. Number one, if you are on an escalator, make sure you stand on the left side. Normally, if you are standing, you normally be on the left side and the moving traffic moves from the right. So that's how it is in Australia in escalators. There are some other etiquettes also, like tipping in restaurants is not mandatory. It's up to you. Usually people don't tip because it's covered in GST or service fees, etc. So tipping is not a mandatory culture in Australia. It's up to you. The other cultural thing that I've noticed, and I was very surprised when I came to Australia, is the early closing of restaurants. Australia is known for its sort of promoting family culture, and this is true for anyone, be it people who work in the hospitality industry or people who work in any sort of other industries as well. So that's why the restaurants, they close early. People are used to having early dinners. Now this might not be a practice for other cultures or people from other countries across the world. So make sure you note and take away food or do something if you are planning to come to Australia, because restaurants, they close by around 8 p.m. 8 p.m. is also, like, I'm talking about much later, and for fewer restaurants. For some of the restaurants it closes even earlier. On Thursdays or Fridays and Saturdays, usually they close at around 9-10ish. And there are some restaurants though, like kebab places, etc., that are open late night, but most of the restaurants shut down early. So that's a thing to note. And then there's this other thing. This is not a cultural thing, but a thing to note. Like, if you're planning to drive in Australia, make sure you carry your driving documents, your driver's license, etc., in Australia as well. Now the driving rules, there are some rules to take care of, like a hook turn, a roundabout. There are proper rules in Australia. So if you're planning to drive in Australia, make sure you take a look at some of these major rules and not get into any sort of trouble with your license or any sort of trouble with accidents, etc. And the other rule that I have seen, other sort of cultural thing that I've seen is people usually clean when they have visited some camping sites, they take their waste along with them, even if it's like they're, if they're feeding their pets, or even if there's waste from anywhere, they usually carry it along. Australia is generally kept clean that way. It's a very clean, hygienic country. So these are some of the cultural things that I've noticed here. If there's anything that anyone wants to add, put it down in the comments section as well. That would be helpful for other tourists, or any fact or thing that amazed you when you came to Australia, or your experience living here in Australia. Now, these were some of the things that I thought could be helpful for all the tourists visiting Australia. Now, there's just one bonus tip that I would say. If you're planning to come to Australia, international roaming, etc., could be a bit expensive. So you can come here, buy an eSIM or buy any other prepaid, postpaid plans that could save you some money. And also, like, if you're looking at accommodations and things like that, make sure, make it a point that you look at Airbnb and those kind of websites and get some good deals. Look at the seasonal offers, promotional discounts, etc., while searching for such deals. Now, these were some of the tips that I thought could be helpful. I do many such videos on Australia. You can check the Australia playlist out. I have done videos on my journey, my PR journey as well. Hopefully these videos are helpful. Very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all the listeners. Thank you so much for watching. Content shared in this video is based on personal experience and research. If you enjoyed the video, like, share and subscribe. Keep watching, keep listening and continue learning.